Hello everybody, Jose Rodriguez once again. We're going to go over the settings that you need to perform to be able to print a photograph on any printer really, whether Canon or Epson, as long as they are photo printers, using Photoshop, Lightroom, as well as Qimage, which is really my go-to application for printing. So let's jump right into Photoshop. Alrighty, here we are in Photoshop, and I'm going to go ahead and assume that this image is ready for print. So let's go ahead and go to File and Print, or Control P. That will bring us into the printing module for Photoshop. And as you can see, something got cut off, didn't it? Alright, so let's go ahead and take care of that. We're going to print on the Pro-100. We're going to slide down. We have centered already chosen, but scale to fit media, because we don't even know what size paper we are going to print on. Let's go ahead and check to see what the driver has been set for. Is 8.5 by 11. So that will be your normal type letter size paper. Now, let's just say that you have Canon paper to print on, such as Photo Paper Pro Luster. All you have to do is this. Click on here, color intensity manual adjustment, matching ICM. So we have that already preset, and we're going to use high quality. So everything is set. We have this set to ICM. That means that it's going to link that particular paper to its already installed matching Photo Paper Pro Luster ICC profile that came with your driver. Okay, and now we're going to come here and see whether we have the settings on the printing module set correctly. Scroll upwards. Printer manages colors. There you go. So the application, in this case Photoshop, will not interfere. In fact, we have a warning here that says remember to enable the printer's color management in the print settings dialog box. So say we have decided to, rather than allow the driver to control color, to let Photoshop manage color. It really wouldn't make any difference. You're going to match it to the same profile anyway. So you would click on that, and there it is. That's the profile for that particular paper. You can choose your perceptual or relative color metric. That's what I use for printing, and also black point compensation, and hit print. That is it, folks. That is all there is to it. So I'm going to take you over to Lightroom, go through the same exact process. It's just laid out a little bit different. But basically, you're going to either allow the driver to control color, again, if you're using Canon paper, but this time I'm going to choose another type of paper, okay? And I'll walk you through that, show you what you do in that case. All right. All right, so here we are in Lightroom, and I have a shot that I took the other day from my drone. I did a couple of flights around the Mooney house. This is where Nathan lives. And here's my son barbecuing, and actually he's looking at his plants. He's got quite a little herb garden going on here. Here's my wife, here's my daughter, my son-in-law, and some friends that came over. And the kids were playing Nerf wars on the vast yard that they have. But regardless, let's go ahead and print that. Go to print, and this is a little bit different. As you can see, it's not going to fit this exactly the way we want it. Lightroom has some very intricate layout tools that you can utilize. Zoom to fit will actually fill in every bit of space. Now, there's such a thing as margins, and these are the margins that the printer driver imposes on you, and you cannot change those unless you print borderless. So they are set left and right are 14 and 13 hundredths of an inch. Top is 11 hundredths and bottom is 21 hundredths. That is why, folks, it seems like you can never center an image on a piece of paper. It just seems impossible, doesn't it? So let's just go ahead and do this. We're going to change the margins to something a little bit more reasonable, like 0.5, 0.5, and 0.5 as well, and 0.5. And now my image is pretty much centered. Okay, I can zoom to fill it, because really it doesn't matter if I crop it a little bit. Again, that's something to be discussed on another video. Let's just go ahead and zoom to fill. Now I have equal borders. Let's print this baby. So let's jump over to this tab on the lower left called Page Setup. Guess what that opens? The driver, folks. Or at least the pre-window to your driver. So we're going to choose what printer do we want. Oh, let's just do the Pro 100 this time. Pro 100. And we're not going to use 8x10. Actually, let's just go ahead and use 8x10. That's good. We already have this already laid out. So properties. Let's go into the properties. We have photo paper plus glossy too. Let's go ahead and make believe that we are printing on a matte paper. So we'll choose that in high quality, okay? But we're not going to let the driver use the ICC profile for Canon Pro Matte, okay? Because we need to use a custom profile we created for XYZ matte paper. Let's just make believe, okay? Click on that, click on it again, matching, and set it to none. Okay, we do not want the driver to attempt to print this image with this profile. All this does is simply tell the printer, hey, you're printing on matte paper. Okay, remember the density settings you need to set up for your ink delivery and so forth. That's it. We're going to leave it at that. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and do this. Notice, managed by printer. Click on that. Don't unclick that. Just click other. And let's make believe that this particular profile here is for matte paper. You click on it. And then that brings it into play. And that's basically it. That's all you have to do. Now, you can apply your rendering intent here. You can actually make like slight adjustments, but I leave that just in case my image or print does not come out the way I expected it to come out. But here's one important thing. Output sharpening. I leave it as standard unless I realize that I need a little bit more sharpness. This is output sharpening. Nothing to do with sharpening that you perform when you're editing your image. And matte, okay? You have two choices, glossy or matte. It applies a slightly different level of sharpening depending on whether your paper is shiny or even slightly shiny or fully matte. You need different rates of sharpening. So that's what that's for. Now, you would go ahead and print. Now, if you're ready to go, you just hit print and it will begin printing. If you want to review your settings, you hit printer and then go ahead and review your settings again. Change the printer to another model if you so wish. You're not committed to print just yet. So that's it. Now let's look at what you do if you decide to, say, export this edited image over to Qimage. You can do that directly from either Photoshop or Lightroom. Because remember, folks, I told you I do all my printing. In fact, I just prefer to do all my printing unless I absolutely have to. I do it on Qimage. So in order to do that, you go to File, Plugin Extras, Qimage Ultimate. Now I have Qimage One installed as well. So now it's going to open up Qimage. It's going to export this edited file over to Qimage. We can go ahead and close Lightroom at that point. And here's our image. And of course, look at that. It just doesn't quite fit, does it? Well, let's see what's going on. Let's see where our problem lies. We can do fit to paper. And that just fits it without any borders, north or south. Let's see what printer we are using here. SCP 800. Okay. Let's go ahead and keep it that way. We're going to use 8.5 by 11. But see, folks, I need my borders. So click on Prints in Custom. I'm going to go ahead and choose only the short dimension. So this is 8.5 by 11. Let's just go ahead and choose 8. Bingo. There you go. It fitted it pretty much perfectly. And so that's all you have to do to lay your image out. Printer settings. Now here's where the fun begins. Remember, we had this set to off in the previous video. Let's go ahead and let the printer manage color. And look at that. Printer driver color matching settings have been auto applied. That means that I'm letting the printer manage color. that means that the driver now is set possibly to ICM. Let's go ahead and check. There you go, ICM. Let's go ahead and change this to let Qimage handle color. I'm going to show you a trick before we do that. Let's say, for instance, we are indeed printing on Epson paper, and we know that when we install the driver for the P800, a multitude of ICC profiles were also installed. But I have hundreds and hundreds of profiles. So how do I find that particular paper profile quickly? I mean, like instantly. We click on that little tool icon right there and this little magnifying glass. It says suggest list profiles in order of relevance to current printer and media. Let's click on that. Good Lord, look what's on the very top. The profile we need. Isn't that something? We're going to open it. And now we have some other choices we can make here. Rendering intent, relative colorimetric, which is what I always use. And if you're going to print charts with graphic solid colors, you would choose saturation. There is another setting, absolute colorimetric proofing under controlled lighting. That means you're going to actually view your images probably on the same color temperature lights that you're going to be displaying it under. And this one here is, I don't use this a lot, but auto perceptual or relative colorimetric is going to analyze the image, decide how many colors are out of gamut and which rendering intent would be best. If none of them are out of gamut, then relative colorimetric would probably be chosen. And of course, black point compensation is on. And we're going to print in simulated full 16-bit condition. And that's kind of an illusion, but it actually does work, visually speaking. And we hit OK. Look at that. Remember, we switched this to an ICC profile. Let's check the driver. It should be set to none. Off. You see that? There's no way you can screw up, folks. If I was to print this on my P800, it would be a match to this. Okay? So that's basically it. It's really quite simple. The layouts, the user interface may differ from each application, but really you are setting the driver. And something like Qimage does not allow you to make mistakes. In Photoshop, you set the driver to control color. You tell the Photoshop printer module to allow the printer to control color. That's it. And you match that paper type to a given Epson or Canon paper. If you're using a foreign third-party paper, then you must tell the driver not to control color, and then you choose the corresponding or matching ICC profile in your printing application. Okay. In Qimage, it would be extremely simple. You just simply click on that tool. And if you have profiles that have been named correctly, in other words, what they call the naming convention, the way that a profile is named, then it will probably suggest that profile for you. And you just simply click it, activate it, and print. That's it. So you will be doing this with the profiles you create. So have a look at some of the profiles you have installed and follow that procedure. In other words, that type of titling. When you name the profile you create, you have to give it a name that makes sense. In other words, it matches the naming convention that the ICC uses to name profiles. That way you'll be able to easily find it, especially if you tell Qimage to, hey, I need help, locate a profile for this particular paper. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. As always, happy printing, everybody. Bye-bye.